Hey, this really caught my attention. We're both kind of into this whole personal growth thing, right? Like how to really design a life that's extraordinary. And
Totally, yeah.
this Tony Robbins interview had some stuff that was seriously thought-provoking, especially about self-esteem.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite what we've always been told.
It's interesting how he challenges that idea that we all have that, high self-esteem is like the magic thing.
Right.
For success, he's like, no, it's not something you just have. It's something you earn by like taking on difficult things and then conquering those things.
It's like we're always told, believe in yourself and you can achieve anything.
Right.
But he's kind of turning that on its head.
Yeah, and he uses this great example of seeing Bruce Springsteen perform to a packed stadium, and in that moment, he felt completely inadequate.
Oh, wow.
Like his work was just, insignificant compared to the impact Springsteen was having on this massive crowd.
Wow.
But guess what? Years later, Robbins himself ended up filling that very same stadium.
That's powerful.
So it's like, it just highlights how comparing yourself to others can be such a drain on your energy and your motivation. So instead of, focusing on what others are doing, he really emphasizes, finding a purpose that's bigger than yourself, something you genuinely care about. That's where the real power comes from.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like when I first started my blog, I was so intimidated.
Oh, yeah.
By all these established writers and influencers out there.
Right.
I almost talked myself out of it.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
Good.
And I'm so glad looking back now. It's amazing to see how far I've come.
Yeah.
If I had let that, self-doubt win,
totally,
I would have missed out on so much.
And that's exactly it. It's not about having this like unwavering self-esteem from day one.
Right.
It's more about taking action, pushing through those moments of doubt, and finding that sense of purpose that fuels you.
Yeah. But here's what's even more interesting. This whole concept of life having seasons.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how it's not just about the years passing, but about these distinct phases, each with its own, energy and challenges and opportunities.
It's a very fascinating way to look at the journey of life. He breaks it down kind of like this spring is like 0 to 21.
Okay.
Summer is 22 to 42.
Okay.
Fall is 43 to 63, and winter is 63 plus.
Okay.
And each of these seasons has kind of like a dominant focus and potential pitfalls. And when we start to recognize these patterns, it can really help us navigate those phases with more awareness.
Okay. So spring is all about learning, absorbing information, figuring out who you are and what the world's about.
Exactly. It's that time of exploration and growth.
Right.
Kind of like a sponge soaking it all up.
Then summer hits, and that's when things get real. You're building a career, maybe starting a family, all sorts of new challenges.
Right. And those challenges are essential.
Yeah.
Think about it like a blacksmith forging steel. The intense heat and the pressure is what gives it its strength and its resilience. So summer is that time for really testing your limits, pushing boundaries, and figuring out what you're truly capable of.
And if we do the work in those early seasons, embrace the challenges we learn from our mistakes, then we enter fall with this whole other level of mastery.
Absolutely. It's that time when you're reaching the rewards of your efforts. You've got the experience, you've honed your skills, you have a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. And now you can actually use that wisdom to make an impact.
To give back to mentor others.
Right.
And then winter.
Yeah.
I love how he describes this as a time of peace and reflection, where you finally, let go of that need to prove yourself and just savor the journey.
It's a beautiful vision of aging with grace and wisdom, continuing to grow and continuing to contribute even as you're entering a new chapter.
Now check this out. He talks about how he intentionally primes his mindset each morning to create the emotional state he wants for the day.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And there's some fascinating science behind this.
Totally.
Yeah, and that leads us to something fascinating. This whole concept of priming.
I love it. It's like that experiment where they had people holding a warm cup of coffee and they judged a character as more friendly and approachable than those holding an iced coffee.
Oh, really?
So it shows how, our subconscious minds are constantly being primed by our environment, whether we're aware of it or not.
That is incredible how our environment can influence our perceptions and even decisions. So he's basically taking control of that.
Exactly.
Right.
By starting his day with gratitude, compassion, and a clear vision of his goals, he's setting the emotional tone for everything that follows.
Okay, so he's creating a mental and emotional foundation for the day.
Totally.
Okay, I'm starting to see how powerful this could be. But priming isn't the only thing he talks about.
Right.
He also dives into these 3 crucial decisions we're making all the time often without even realizing it.
It's really fascinating how he breaks it down. He says we're constantly deciding what to focus on, what meaning was giving to those things, and then what actions we're going to take based on those meanings.
Okay.
And he argues that most of us are kind of stuck in some pretty unproductive patterns.
Like what?
Well, for example, we tend to focus on what's missing in our lives instead of what we already have.
Right.
We get caught up in that scarcity mindset, always striving for the next thing without fully, enjoying the present moment.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm guilty of that sometimes too.
Yeah.
It's like you achieve something, and then instead of celebrating that accomplishment, we're already on to the next goal.
Right.
The next challenge, we're never fully satisfied.
And it's not just material things. It's,
right.
Relationships, experiences, our own talents and skills.
Yeah.
It's that constant feeling of not enough.
So how do we break free from that?
Well, he suggests we shift our focus to what we can control.
Okay.
Instead of, dwelling on external circumstances, we turn inward.
Right.
Focusing on our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, taking ownership of our internal world.
I guess that's where that Stoic philosophy comes in, right?
Totally.
Focus on what you can influence and accept what you can't.
Exactly.
Easier said than done.
It takes practice and, conscious effort. But with time, we can retrain our brains to notice the good, find opportunities within challenges, and choose more empowering meanings for those experiences.
Which brings us to that third decision. What are we going to do? That's where taking action comes in.
Exactly. Once you've shifted your focus and you've chosen a more empowering meaning, you got to follow through.
Right.
With aligned action.
Yeah, walk the talk.
Yeah, it's all about aligning your behavior with your desired state.
So if you want to feel more confident, you got to start acting in ways that build confidence.
Exactly.
If you want to be more creative, you make time for creative pursuits. You're turning those intentions into concrete actions.
Yes.
But there's this one thing he said that really surprised me. He argues that sometimes forgiveness is the wrong approach.
That caught my attention too. Doesn't sound like the typical Tony Robbins message.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's not saying we shouldn't process difficult experiences or work through the pain they caused.
Right.
He's challenging us to move beyond dwelling on the need to forgive, which can actually keep us stuck in that victim role.
Yeah.
Instead, he encourages us to find the wisdom and the growth in our past, even the painful parts.
And he uses his own childhood as an example.
Right.
He had a pretty rough upbringing, but instead of seeing himself as a victim, he reframed those experiences as fuel for his mission to help others.
Wow.
He believes that the challenges we face, if we choose to focus from them, can become our greatest strengths.
Powerful reframing, but it also raises an important question. If we're not seeking forgiveness, how do we actually let go of the past and move forward?
That's where he introduces this really interesting concept called soul contracts.
Soul contract.
It's almost like this idea that we chose these experiences on some level before we were even born.
Okay.
As opportunities to learn and grow.
Wow.
So instead of forgiveness, he suggests we focus on understanding the deeper purpose those experiences served in our evolution.
Okay, I'm starting to see how that connects. By reframing those past hurts as opportunities for growth, we can actually find gratitude for them even if we wouldn't want to go through them again.
Right.
It's not about, condoning the actions or minimizing the pain. It's about finding the meaning and the lessons within those experiences.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective from victim to student can be incredibly liberating.
It's like, hey, that was rough.
Yeah.
But look how much stronger it made me, and now I can use that strength to help others going through similar challenges.
Right.
And that brings us to another interesting point he makes. He talks about how even our physical environment can prime us for specific emotional states. What does he mean by that?
Well, he tells this amazing story about building this underwater recreation space at his home.
Oh, wow.
Squash courts, a bowling alley, all designed for fun and play. And his point is that we can intentionally design our environments to support the emotional states we want to experience.
So if you want to be more relaxed and playful, surround yourself with things that evoke those feelings.
Right.
If you want to be more focused and productive, create a workspace that's free of distractions. It's like we're setting the stage for our desired mindset.
Think about your own space.
Yeah.
What kind of environment are you cultivating?
That's a good point.
What emotions and behaviors are you subconsciously priming yourself for?
Now, check this out. He also dives into this whole idea of group dynamics and how being part of a supportive community can amplify personal growth.
He talks about how the energy of a live event with thousands of people all focused on transformation, can create this incredible momentum for personal growth. It's like this shared energy that's really hard to replicate on your own.
It's like the energy of a concert or a sporting event.
Totally.
You can literally feel it.
Yeah.
The collective emotion.
And he's been hosting these massive events for decades.
Yeah.
But recently, he's been experimenting with virtual events.
Okay.
Using technology to connect with people all over the world.
That's pretty amazing. So he's taking that power of the live event and making it accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
And get this, he offers these virtual events for free.
Wow.
He shares these stories about people making dramatic life changes during these events, like losing weight, overcoming long-held limitations, finding new purpose.
That's powerful.
It just shows how powerful a supportive community can be.
Yeah.
When you're surrounded by people who are also committed to growth, it creates this upward spiral of positive change.
So we've got this whole idea of self-esteem being earned, not given life's seasons, priming our mindsets, the power of the 3 decisions, and the importance of community.
Right.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, but I think if we can step back and look at the bigger picture, it all comes back to that core message of focusing on what we can control.
Right.
We can't control the world around us.
Right.
But we can control how we show up.
Yeah.
The meaning we give to our experiences and the actions that we take.
And maybe, just maybe, by choosing to see the world through that lens of possibility, by focusing on growth and contribution, we can unlock a level of peace and fulfillment we never thought possible.
Absolutely. It's a journey worth taking. And remember, like he says, life is happening for us, not to us. Even the challenges, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, they're all opportunities for learning, for growth, for becoming the best versions of ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Tony Robbins' wisdom, I'm curious, what resonated most with you? What are you going to take away from this and apply to your own life?
I think for me, it's that reminder to be intentional about how I'm priming my mindset, to focus on what I can control, and to remember that even the tough times are part of a larger journey of growth and evolution.
I love that. And for me, it's that idea of life seasons. It's so comforting to know that there's a natural rhythm to life, that we're not supposed to have it all figured out all the time. Right. There's a time for learning, a time for building, a time for sharing our wisdom, and a time for just being.
Beautifully said. So to our listener out there, remember, you have the power to shape your own destiny. Choose your focus wisely, find meaning in your experiences, take aligned action, and never stop learning and growing.